Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Living Springs Retreat Live. I love hosting LSR Live. I'm Scott Ritsema, of course. Folks who've been joining us week after week on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern have really, I think, picked up a lot of new tips and information and philosophical understandings. If you watched our last week program with Dr. Sandoval, we're going to keep doing this. We know you guys are loving it. And today the topic is weight management. And I can't wait to introduce our guest to you. Her name is Jennifer White, and she is, to me, my go-to specialist on this topic, like top-notch, number one. And so I'll tell you more about her and her bio in a moment, but we're going to look at weight management and healthy cooking. So Jennifer comes to us from jenniferskitchen.com. And welcome again to our program. Our sponsor today, I hold in my hands one of my favorite cookbooks. It's Fast Cooking in a Slow Cooker. Actually happens to be put out by a mentor of Jennifer White, and we're going to tell you all about Jennifer White's cookbooks and recipes as well. But this one is by a cookbook author that has put out hundreds of thousands of cookbooks. I mean, these are beloved recipes, and it's that chilly time of year. It's becoming more chilly. I mean, cool, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. I realize there are many people around the world watching this who are heading into summer here, but please use that QR code to get your copy of that cookbook. It's maybe an early Christmas present or whatever, and use the discount code. The discount code LIVE, LIVE, for 20% off. And I think you'll enjoy those recipes, which are very much in line with the weight management philosophy you're about to hear in this program. So this is the perfect cookbook to talk about in the context of our Jennifer White interview. I'd like to introduce our guest. Jennifer White from jenniferskitchen.com is a weight loss consultant with 25 years experience and a passion for helping others and making a difference. She's a frequent guest on local as well as international radio and television, including First Light TV in New Zealand. And her delicious, and I speak from experience on this, my family has not only eaten the food from the recipes in her cookbooks and her websites, but actually been able to eat together. So maybe most importantly, Jennifer and her beloved family are good friends of the Ritsema family. She's been featured in Better Homes and Gardens and a magazine, and Vegan Food and Living magazine, and of course across the web. So Jennifer, thank you for coming on LSR Live to talk about healthy cooking, what you do for folks, and of course the important topic of weight management, which I want to start with a question on that very topic. I want to know how you got into doing this work and helping people with their weight loss journeys, and part of your story that could really give people an understanding of your heart for people on this topic.
Absolutely. But first, it is my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, and definitely even more of a pleasure to be good friends with the Ritsema family. Wow, how I got into this. I grew up in a family that in which most of them were obese. My grandmother weighed probably at least 400 pounds, and the rest of my family very obese as well, with few exceptions. So I saw firsthand the suffering that went along with being overweight, not just the physical suffering, but because many diseases come along with obesity, but the mental and the emotional suffering as well, and the everyday inconveniences of being overweight. I was surrounded by that, and it just seemed like, yeah, there's got to be. It's not the happiest life when you're dealing with that day in, day out. And so I guess that, well, my mom was an exception to the family norm. She did try to feed us much healthier, so that kind of put a little idea in my mind. But then as I grew older into my teens and early 20s, I was definitely on that road to being overweight, mostly because I didn't really, even though my mom did a lot to help us eat healthier, she did what she knew. But again, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I was on my way down that road, and a friend of mine introduced me to a healthier way of living in general, not just eating, healthier way of living. And she didn't share it with me as a way to lose weight, just to be healthier. And so I started adopting a few of the things that she shared with me, and I started to lose weight. And I wasn't even trying to lose weight. And I had tried many times in the past to lose weight without success at all, at all. And it it never worked. And if anything, I gained more weight. So when I started to lose weight through the things that my friend was sharing me, and she was just sharing with me biblical principles. I was shocked. I was amazed and thrilled, and so I wanted to share it with other people because I saw that there was so much a very much happier way to live.
And I can testify too, having shared your perspective personally with people, that I quite frankly learned a lot from you, and pointing people to your jenniferskitchen.com and your weight loss program, that I never once heard when people actually apply the methods that you learned from this friend and that you teach people today. Nobody's ever said to me, that doesn't work. It didn't. I ate the way that I was taught to use it on this program, and I just got fat doing it. No, it works like 100%. And so that's why when I asked you a couple years ago, I don't remember what the numbers were, and I realized that you would never say this unless I make you. But I said, Jennifer, tell me about, please, the success rates of people who apply the weight management principles that you teach versus the average of the fad diets and the methods out there that, what I would say, the world is presenting. You're showing people biblical principles in just simple ways. Wasn't it like 1,400% better, or 14,000? It was some crazy number. Just tell us about how things are working for your clients, and what the benefits of taking weight management seriously are for the people you've been able to help.
Yeah, it's the reason why it works, and it works 100% of the time, is because it was given to us by the one who created our bodies, the one who knows what our bodies need. He created our bodies to be thin, to be lean and healthy. He didn't make a mistake when he was creating us. So if we take the principles that he's given us in his word and apply them to the bodies he's created, it always works. And so um, I should say here, it's not my program, it's just God's program that I've put together in an easy to follow, step by step, day by day plan. When someone who joins the program follows it, it always works 100% of the time. But I think last year, so I think last year, almost 200 million, I think the statistics say that almost 200 million Americans, I know that this audience is more than Americans, but that's the statistic that I have. Almost 200 million Americans either went on a diet or tried some kind of a health plan, something to lose weight and get healthier. And yet, with that many Americans, it's over half of our population. With that many Americans trying these things, and yet 74% of Americans are still overweight, something's not working. These plans just don't work because they're not, well, some of them aren't made to work, otherwise they go out of business. But a lot of it is just misunderstanding about how God created our body. If we understand how God created our body and we treat it in the way that he prescribes for us to treat it, then we're going to be lean and trim and healthy because that's the way he created us to be.
That's awesome. And I love how you, in the intro, you were talking about the emotional and mental health, that when you are overweight or obese, you're just not as happy because physiologically your body is not how it ought to be. And when you start shedding those excess pounds, then it's just, there's a joy in this service that I see in your life and in your family's life, because it is like you hear it from Jennifer White all the time, folks, that this is about the God that she serves and his methods and plans, and what a fulfilling way to live. So let's transition to talking about what Americans are doing wrong. And there's kind of two questions there. And I realize it's not just a problem of Americans. Those who've adopted, yeah, our exported diet, I'm sorry, but it's gone global. And wherever obesity and these struggles are reigning, tell us about the cause of that. What are the biggest mistakes people are making in their dietary choices? And then secondly, what are the mistakes that are being made in the fad diets and the things that people are trying to do to solve it, that, like you just said, they're not working?
They're not working. And it's really sad. The enemy of our souls wants to blind us to the truth. And that not only applies spiritually, it applies physically as well. And that's because we're whole beings. Our physical affects our mental, and our mental affects our emotional, and our emotional affects our physical, and we're just whole beings. And he wants to blind us to what the perfect and simple truth of God is. And so we've got so much information out there, just an incredible amount of information. There's far more misinformation than there is truth. It's really difficult to find anything that's 100% pure truth from the internet, at least, let alone, yeah, Instagram. I mean, yeah, all across the board. So we've got, people are looking for a quick fix. That's what it is. They want a cleanse, a smoothie, a pill, a powder, a drink, something, a quick fix, but it doesn't exist. There is no quick, easy fix, even though God's ways are very simple and very practical. It doesn't come in a smoothie or a cleanser, or any of these things. And the misinformation in advertising is terrible. Coconut sugar is still sugar, and coconut oil is still is highly refined and highly processed, and there's no such thing as unrefined oil. I see this all the time. This is made with unrefined oil. There's no such thing as unrefined oil. It's made with unrefined sugar. There's no such thing as unrefined sugar. If it's unrefined, it's still the whole big sugar cane, and nobody mixes a whole big sugar cane into their cookies. The raw sweet potato brownies, it's still junk food. It's just because it's raw and it has sweet potatoes in it doesn't mean it's good for you. The protein bars are the worst. They're just glorified candy bars. It's just misinformation. It's just wrong, and it's sad because people try to. What I really love about Oreos and Snicker bars? You want to know what I really love about Oreo cookies and Snickers candy bars is that they don't pretend to be health food. If you're eating an Oreo cookie, you're eating something unhealthy. If you're eating a Snickers bar, you're eating junk food. But when you drink this special, supposedly healthy drink that'll help you lose weight, and you think it's going to help you lose weight, and you think it's going to make you healthy, it's just a lie. And then these people who are using these products that supposedly will help you be healthier and help you lose weight, they don't lose weight and they don't get healthy. And then it's hugely disappointing for them. And then they think, I failed and I can't lose weight, and they're discouraged, and that's just not fair. It just breaks my heart, because none of that's true. It's not their fault. They can be healthy and they can lose weight. Another bit of information that people fall for that can be really discouraging is that you have to work out at the gym for 2 hours a day in order to lose weight. And while exercise has a number of wonderful benefits, it isn't necessary to go to the gym and work out until you're ready to drop in order to lose weight. It takes over an hour, I think, to work off just one donut, and that just is impractical. People don't have time to do that. And so they think that if they can't work out, then there's no way they can lose weight. I've had people on my program. I had one woman who broke her leg the second day she was on my program. She sat around in bed for 2 months, and on my program, she lost weight because exercise, while it is very valuable and important, it is not an absolute part of weight loss. If you give your body the food that it needs and other factors, which I include in my program as well, then you'll lose weight even if you're not sweating at the gym 3 hours a day or 10 hours a week, or even 1 hour a week isn't necessary. Just a nice walk after a meal is plenty. I've had people in my program, people who joined my program who were in a lot of pain because they were overweight. They had a lot of joint pain, and so they couldn't exercise, but they still lost weight. And because they lost weight, they felt great, and so they started exercising. Which, I'm not discouraging exercise, but I don't want that to be a roadblock, a hurdle that people have to get over to, uh, get over in order to lose weight. It isn't necessary. It would be much better to spend that hour instead of being on the treadmill. It'd be much better for them to use that hour to cook some healthy food for the week ahead, and you'll have much more success with your weight loss if you do that.
And that's totally liberating, isn't it? That you're not chained to that routine, where it frees up some time, and you should be going for a walk, right? A morning walk, a little walk after a meal for digestion. But I learned that from you, that walking is actually about the best exercise there is. And I did the math once, because I was kind of like addicted to some of the things that you're talking about with sugar, and like the vegan ice creams, where it's like, this is the healthy option. And it's a bunch of high calorie dense, low fiber, no fiber hardly. And I'm like, okay, if I eat that, now I have to go on a 9 mile jog in order to get the ice cream paid off. And what silliness that is. So I gave that up. I said goodbye to that. And you just feel freed when you're, and what I want you to talk about now, Jennifer, is please, on your program, by the way, which is virtually the same kind of dietary approach that people who go to Living Springs Retreat experience. It's plant food diet, high fiber, whole plant foods. And what I think is the best thing about your program is you don't have to go hungry, right? And talk a little bit about that. How is it possible that you can lose weight while also getting enough to eat and not going hungry?
Yeah, it's actually multifaceted. The first thing that we attribute it to is that it's got a lot of fiber, which keeps you satisfied for a long time. But there's way more to it than that. One of the key factors of this program that most programs don't have is that we take out the appetite stimulants. There are a lot of ingredients, foods in even so-called healthy diets that actually stimulate your appetite, make you more hungry, and prevent those appetite suppression hormones from kicking in. So we take those out, and you don't miss them. They're just ingredients here and there that we replace with other good tasting things that don't stimulate your appetite. But you take those out, and you don't have cravings all the time, and you're not hungry all the time. And people don't realize that they're eating these things, and they're like, I couldn't lose weight because I was starving. Well, I'd be starving too if I ate these little tiny portions that were full of appetite stimulating ingredients. So the increased fiber, the removal of the appetite stimulants, we work with your body, eating work with the circadian rhythm and so forth, so that we are cooperating with how your body functions, so that you're not swimming upstream the whole time. We don't count calories. We teach how to know when you're full, and stop when you're satisfied, and eat when you need to eat. Water is it's such a simple thing, but it's a really key in stimulating the appetite hormones, that the suppression ones, and everything at the right time, and so forth. yeah, there's a lot of different factors and exercise, of course, does help with appetite as well. And again, I'm definitely not anti-exercise. Just don't want it, just want it to be in the right place in the program. But yeah, people don't go hungry. They eat as much as they want. I just recently had a member of my program contact me and said, I'm really concerned because I've been on this program 14 days and I've lost over 14 pounds. Is this a little too fast to lose? And it's okay, but it was a little bit fast. And so we realized that she was eating these tiny portions because she had been on a diet for years and years and years and years and years and was used to eating these little tiny portions, the poor girl. And she wasn't losing weight, so she assumed she was still eating too much. So we realized that she probably just needed to eat a little bit more, and things leveled off for her, and it all worked out great. But yeah, there's no need to go hungry. It's unnecessary torture.
That has got to be the best thing about your program, because I mean, I think most listeners, when they think weight management, like, okay, let's listen to this interview, let's see where Jennifer White at jenniferskitchen.com is coming from, because I hear this, I hear that, and I think what people assume is that baked into the cake of every single weight management philosophy, approach, program is, I'm gonna have to be restricting calories, and I'm going to have to be a little hungry or not quite get enough to eat, because that's just how it works. And it almost sounds too good to be true, to, I think, to an appropriately skeptical society that's been heavily marketed to by nonsense. It's almost impossible sounding. But you said you got 100% success. I mean, everybody who applies the program, it works. And I've done it. I know many people who've done it. And I actually did something. I'll ask you about that in a little bit, because I think sometimes people get the idea that not only do you need to count calories, you have to count calories, but also talk to us about the counting of carbs, and how you don't need to worry about that at jenniferskitchen.com.
No, not at all. Carbs are delicious and they're wonderful, and we don't want to cut them out of our diet. They are what give us energy. And here's another one of the enemy's ploys. Carbs are what make your brain work well. So there's actual research done, and people who restrict carbs from their diet perform more poorly on mental performance tests. So that's not a good thing, of course. We need carbs. We just need the right kind of carbs. We need the complex carbohydrates, and that includes potatoes. There are plenty of potatoes on this program. God created potatoes, and He created them for us to eat. And they're delicious and they're satisfying, and they will help you lose weight. In fact, there was a study done of, I don't remember how many foods, many different foods, and they studied the satiety level of all of these foods. And of all the foods in the test, in all the foods in the study that they tested, they found that potatoes were number one in satiety. That meant that if you eat potatoes, then you'll eat less at that meal. If you eat potatoes at the meal, you'll eat less at that meal. Not only at that meal, but the whole rest of the week, you'll eat less, or at least the rest of the day, you'll eat less. So potatoes are super helpful on a weight loss plan. They're very satisfying. So yeah, carbs, not necessary to count carbs at all. We need them. We need them for good energy. We need them for good function, physical and mental function. And they are beneficial for emotional health as well, because they are very integrated in our hormone levels and so forth. So yeah, no counting carbs necessary. You don't have to count protein either. The average American gets almost twice as much protein as he or she needs, and it's a myth that protein helps with weight loss. It's actually dangerous to get, we need enough protein, but it's dangerous to get too much protein. With high protein diets, we see lots of problems like increased risk of cancer, increased risk of autoimmune diseases, heart disease, and again, poor mental performance. The research is without a doubt that we suffer from these things if we are on a high protein diet. In fact, But that's not to say you can't lose weight on a high protein diet. That you can lose weight on a high protein diet. But the difference between a high protein diet and a high carbohydrate diet is that after about 6 to 8 months on the high protein diet, your body says, I'm done. And you'll stop losing weight and you'll start gaining weight. And on the high carbohydrate diet, your body says, yes, this is what I was built for. I love this. I'm going to keep going. You keep losing weight. You keep feeling better. You keep having more energy. You keep getting healthier, and you keep going. And so you stick to it, because why wouldn't you? But yeah, we don't have the same results with the high protein diet, even though you can lose weight at the beginning. Another very negative effect of the high protein diet is bowel trouble. That is 80, I think about 84%, 80 some percent, I don't remember exact statistic, of those who use a high protein diet eventually develop pretty troubling bowel disorders. So yeah, none of that on God's program.
Yeah, and that reminds me of the Adventist Health studies that were done in Loma Linda, how those who moved from a more animal-based, high-protein-based diet toward the plant-based diet, they witnessed a 54% reduction in colon cancer risk. I mean, that is massive, right? And on the carb thing, you actually, I remember you talking to me about this very thing. And we were like, okay, so I don't need to worry about my carbs. How liberating that is when you're eating whole plant foods. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to test this out on people. And I found like 60 people, but 22 people actually went through with it. And I said, we're going to do a challenge. And I know this is not a recommended diet by any means, because God gave us, 100 different foods to eat. But I made a list of 12 that are like the most demonized high carb foods. Potatoes, you mentioned, corn, beans, peas, rice, potatoes, pasta, sweet fruits. And I said, all right, guys, let's try something. Let's eat only these 12 most demonized high carb foods for 10 days and see what happens on the scale. And so I got 22 crazy people to do it with me. And the average weight loss was 3.5 pounds. And then people would be like, well, you're going to gain all kinds of weight eating potatoes. And then I'm wondering, it's because I ate mashed potatoes with a whole thing of butter and a giant scoops of sour cream. And then I put gravy on top of it and added butter on top of it. It's like, what percentage of the calories of my mashed potatoes growing up were actually the potato? If I just took a baked potato in my hand and just started chewing on it, that's not the same calorie intake as the mashed potatoes. So I love your take on the carbs, because there is a lot of misinformation. And folks, I think, are going down the wrong road with that. And you're mentioning long-term consequences of the anti-carb thing. It's a phenomenon, it's a trend, it's a fad, but it's not long-term tested. When you look at longevity, disease risk over a lifespan, aren't you looking at more plants the better?
Definitely, and the statistics, the research is clear. There's no a lot of times people will say, well, this was good for you this week and that was good for you that month, and this year this year is the opposite. And maybe that's what we hear on the news or on the media or whatever, but really, if you look at the research, the actual well done studies, it's consistent, it's clear. We have reams of research that shows us that a plant-based diet is the healthier option. It is what will prevent disease. It is what will get you at a healthy weight. There's no ups and downs to that. There's no inconsistency there. Potatoes have always been good for you, and they were good for you 100 years ago. They were good for you 20 years ago, and they're still good for you today. These things aren't changing. The reason why we think there's this fluctuation is just because of the media and things that you hear on the media.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And
absolutely.
I
And
remember
I
hearing
remember hearing
also
also
that
that
we got a little
we
bit
got a
of an
little bit of
echo
that.
there, Jeremy. I wonder if you would. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. You ever, listener, you've probably heard of the blue zones. I think you've probably heard me mention them on LSR Live. I know Jennifer knows about the blue zones. and they studied populations of people who were the longest living people in the world, and they wanted to see how do they live and how do they succeed like this. And this isn't potatoes, but this is sweet potatoes. The traditional Okinawan diet. He knows exactly what I'm saying. He knows it's 2/3 of their diet was sweet potatoes, and they're some of the longest living people on earth on these high carbs. In fact, all of the blue zones, they are all subsisting. The majority of their calories are carbohydrates. And again, it's complex carbohydrates, right, Jennifer? I mean, name some things, name some bad carbs that we want to stay away from, but they're living 50 to 80% of their calories. 80%, up to 80% of their calories are from carbohydrates, and they're thriving and they're winning. They are the longest living people in the world. But what are we doing wrong with our carbs in the West?
Right. Carbs are, it's a big, what am I trying to say? Category, big category. There are the complex carbohydrates, and then there are the refined carbohydrates. So brown rice is excellent for you. You can be healthy and lean on brown rice, but when we refine the brown rice, make it into white rice, then it's not that good for us anymore. Same with uh, whole wheat bread. Yeah, you can eat bread on a healthy diet and you can lose weight. Bread's not bad as long as it's whole grain. But when we make white flour out of that whole wheat and eat white bread, then that might cause some weight gain. Same with I mentioned before, the sugar cane. When we refine the sugar cane and we get sugar, then that's a very refined carbohydrate, one that we want to stay away from. And even a refined carbohydrate that people don't think about very often is juice. Apples are an excellent weight loss food, as are oranges and grapes, but you can have apple juice, orange juice, and grape juice, and those are refined. We've removed much of the nutrients from the original fruit, the original whole fruit. We've removed all of the fiber, which is a key nutrient in weight loss, and we end up with a very refined product that can cause weight gain. So this isn't to say that you can never eat any of those things. And I meant to say that before, and I mentioned the protein bars and what else did I mention? The coconut oil and the coconut sugar and so forth. It doesn't mean that we can't eat any of these things, can't drink any orange juice, or can't eat any sugar or any white flour or what have you. But we need to understand that these are refined carbohydrates. They are not going to help with weight loss, and they're not going to help with good health. We need to go into it with our eyes open, knowing what we're eating and the effect it has on our body, so that we can make good decisions. And that's what I was saying. It's the misinformation that is making weight loss so difficult. It isn't that you ate some white rice the other day that's making weight loss difficult. It's the misinformation. If you don't know that it's bad or going to contribute to weight gain, then you're not going to be careful with how much you consume. And so then we'll see the results from that. So those are some examples. Yeah, the white rice, the sugar, the white flour. And when I say sugar, I mean all types of sugar: the turbinado sugar, the muscadova sugar, what else? The coconut sugar, raw sugar, unrefined sugar, which is a misnomer. All of those are refined carbs.
Well, tell us about some awesome foods in the Jennifer's Kitchen program, which is, I know, the foods God made for us, but that you've organized. And tell us like your 10 to 12 biggest winners that people should really, build their meals around. And while you're talking about that, can you give us a little teaser of a couple favorite recipes that people who are in your program like to enjoy?
Well, scalloped potatoes are at the top, one of the top, and the cream of potato soup is another one of the top. So I guess people like potatoes as much as I do. What else do people like? The lasagna is a pretty big hit. Um, some of the more simple ones are the banana cookies, which are breakfast cookies, are pretty popular. Yeah, those are pretty popular. What was the other? Some of that's one thing that people seem to appreciate about this program, is that I don't push that you have to eat these 10 foods to be healthy, or these, it's flexible. In fact, I tell people, don't eat what you don't like, because if you're having to eat what you don't like, then you're not going to stick with the program. Find the foods that are in the program that you like and eat those, and then you'll stick with the program. And I know these days we have what's superfood. You've heard of the superfoods, like typically we think of kale and sweet potatoes and yeah, all those kamut, and I don't know what's in what's trendy now, but the reality is all the foods that God created are super. They really are. He created a wide variety of foods because he's created a wide variety of people, and we all have different tastes. And so he didn't make it so if you didn't eat kale, you couldn't lose weight or you couldn't be healthy. And if you don't like sweet potatoes, someone very dear to me doesn't like sweet potatoes, and they're one of my favorite foods. I'm like, how can you not like sweet potatoes? But it's okay. God didn't make us to all like the same kind of foods. He gave us lots of different varieties of foods, and you can eat or you can eat any of those and be healthy. So yeah, I don't have any. Sorry, I don't have any like that I really push, but I one thing I do push is that you eat what you like so that you can stick with the program.
I love that approach. And I love that you kind of punted on the question, because if you start naming 10 to 12, then everybody will be like, okay, those are the Jennifer White authorized. I got to eat those ones. But your answer is, Scott, there are so many foods to choose from. By the way, I hopped off. You heard the noise of this. This is one of our favorites as a family. Jennifer's actually done a test on this pasta, and because it's, you want to come off of the refined foods, right? I mean, that's kind of, if I was to sum up your program in a nutshell, what I understand is you're moving from refined foods to whole plant foods in their full fiber form. And you got to really know what a refined food is. If an animal is eating the grain and the grass, and then you eat the animal or the animal products that come from the animal, that is a refined food, and refined grains and so on. But this is a brown rice pasta. Tell us about the little test you ran on people eating this versus in a blinded setting versus the white pasta.
Wow, that's been a long time. Let me see if I can remember how that went. This was many, many years ago. Um, and I was teaching a weight loss class, and I made a soup that had this pasta in it. It was sort of like a chicken noodle soup, but no chicken, of course. And I put, and with, let's see, how did that go? I made 2 batches of the soup, one with white pasta. Actually, I did this test 3 times. So and I did it in different ways, but I'll tell the one. I put white pasta, regular white pasta like you buy in any grocery store, into one batch of soup. And I put this brown rice pasta in the other batch of soup. Now, I can't see Scott's screen, so I'm not sure. You have the one brand of, are we allowed to say the brand name? Tinkyada pasta?
Yeah, that's
Because
fine.
some of the,
Tinkyada.
okay, okay, because some of the brown rice pasta is absolutely horrible. It's just mush and it's terrible. So it's this particular brand. So one pot of soup had the white, the other pot had this brand of brown rice pasta in it. And if I remember correctly, 9 out of 10 of the participants couldn't tell the difference between the two. They liked both of the soups equally well. And the one participant said, actually, I like this one better, but this one was the brown rice pasta. So it's definitely, you don't feel like you have to deprive yourself to eat healthy. It's really good.
Yeah, I just love that story, because your program is so easy to implement. It's not like you're denying yourself of everything. You're getting full, you're enjoying the food, you're using tasty seasonings and well designed. I mean, cookery is an art, and you by God's grace have mastered this art and teach people how to do it where they actually enjoy their food. And I'll tell you this from a testimony. I went from the meat and mashed potatoes, meat and potatoes and pizza and Lucky Charms and macaroni and cheese and McDonald's. That was my preferred diet. I went from that to, over time, what you teach, and I enjoy food more now than I used to. There's more variety. There's a wider variety of flavors and textures and new things that you can try. And I actually am not one that goes out like, get me a new recipe. I'm going to try this, try that. But, once you've tried it and you enjoy it, you're like, wow, now I have an even wider variety and palette of food. And again, this goes to like the question that Jennifer didn't want to answer a minute ago about name 10 great foods. Well, how about name every fruit, every vegetable, every whole grain, nuts and seeds, legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas. I mean, you can just fill your whole list. I did a video a little while ago called the 28 fundamental foods, and I couldn't even narrow it down to 28 of the best foods, making sure you're getting your nutrients. And I like that you don't have to eat enormous quantities of kale. And like, I don't actually like salads that much. I'll eat a salad, but do people succeed with your program? Not like make sure you only have a salad.
Oh yeah, we don't. I mean, I don't really even like salad that much either. Um, yeah, most. I have a lot of people coming to my program from a very much a junk food diet, and they adapt really well. I brought a few testimonies with me here. I could read some of them. They it, they are amazed. A lot of people come into the program thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, because I don't hide what it's about. It's plant-based and it's healthy. There's nothing magical about it, except that it works. And so they come to the program with a little bit of hesitancy, and they're almost always telling me how amazed they are that the food how much they enjoy the food. But that really goes back to my philosophy. It does me no good to get you on my program so that you can try food that you don't like so you can quit. That's just a waste of time. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of yours. I'm going to make sure that you're eating food that you like so that you'll stick with the program so that you can lose the weight.
Could you read some of those testimonies? Actually, get them ready. Get the testimonies ready. I've got a testimony here as well, that because I was carrying your DVD years ago. You remember that thing called a DVD? And I said, Jennifer, your program is awesome. I got to put this out there. So and I got this feedback from this lady that said, hi, Jennifer. I bought your DVD from Scott Ritsema. And if folks are like, how do I find the DVD? Just go to jenniferskitchen.com. It's not DVDs, it's an online program. But she says, let me officially say, this is the best purchase ever, in all caps with periods behind it. I love it. It is very well done, and everything you say just resonates with me. I feel like you understand. I've been on my fair share of diets, and this is the first one that works for me. You have a beautiful way of making everything so simple and clear and easy to follow. I love the food. I love that I can go back and review the videos anytime I need to. I love the meal plan. I love the tips you give to make this actually work. And did I say I love the food? I'm down 14 pounds and still losing. I feel like I'm 20 again. One of the benefits from your program I didn't expect. And I had sleep apnea for many years, and now it's gone. You got hundreds and hundreds like that, I realize. And she mentioned tips. Remind me to ask you for some of the kind of unique tips. I think you've done some innovating to God's glory and by His grace. But I just want to remember not to forget about that. But I want to hear your testimonials that you brought.
It makes me cry because I really do care and I really want these people to succeed. That was, yeah, that was a while back. If she got your DVD, we've made even more improvements to the program based on feedback. One of the improvements we've made, if anybody watching was a member a long time ago, one of the improvements that we've made is somebody went through the program and they loved it. It was great. But they said, but I need baby steps. I need you to take my hand and walk me through slowly. And so we've done that. We've done baby steps day by day. today you do this, and the next day you do that, and the next day you do that, and it just walks you through step by step, one by one, and people find it even easier to follow now. Anyway, okay, a testimony. Wow. uh, let's see, I'll just start with this one, because it's quite relatable. She said, I began putting on weight after I had children. By the time I was 30 years old, I weighed 170 pounds. I'm only 5'4". After I went through a divorce, I started a love affair with ice cream. I used it as a comfort. In just a few years, I gained 40 more pounds. Long story short, by the time I was 50, I was on medication and could barely walk due to knee pain. I joined your program, but I had doubts since I had never succeeded losing weight on any other diet. That's pretty consistent in the testimonies that I get, and in the comments in my support group. People will say, I've tried other diets, none of them worked for me. This is the first one that ever worked. Let's see, never losing weight on any other diet. 10 days into the program, I was in love again, except this time not with ice cream. I love your program, which of course is God's program, not my program. I love the food. I love my new life. I am a new woman now, inside and out. And that's another thing that, and I'll finish it. And I attribute it to your program, which again is God's program. That's another thing that I love about God's program, is because it doesn't just change you on the outside. It makes you a trim, lean, healthy person, but not just physically does it help you, it helps you mentally as well. Because like I said, we are whole creatures, and the things that we eat and the things that we do and our lifestyle habits affect our mind as well. And God wants us to have a sharp, clear mind, and this program is conducive to that. So I love that even um, people on the program recognize the, even though their focus is probably on the scales, which I don't encourage, on their physical appearance and so forth, it's even they recognize that my mind is changing too. I'm thinking better. I feel more emotionally stable. I'm just happier.
I love that part. I know I said this already, but that's the best part. That is the best part, because then it's sustainable because you're enjoying the food, you're not going hungry, and you're happier, you're thriving, your mental clarity improves. It's like, why would I not stick with this? And then if you fall off the wagon and you eat something you shouldn't, you binge on something, you realize the next morning, like, I don't feel like I did last week. I see the cause of the effect. The contrast is so beautiful and clear. In fact, on the carb thing, when I did the carbo challenge, is what we called it, my 22 people who did the crazy thing, eat only these 12 demonized foods for 10 days, I asked them not just about their weight, but I asked them about their mental clarity, anxiety, depression. I don't mean the conditions. I mean, just, do you feel anxious? Do you feel sad? Do you have more spiritual inclinations in your thoughts? You're less irritable. I basically went through a list of like 8 different mental health measures, if you will, and 20 out of the 22 people who did the 10 days of eating virtually only carbohydrate, high complex carbohydrate foods, 20 out of 22 people found benefits in some way. I mean, even in self-control and lustful feelings for the men and the women on the program. I was just like, praise God, this is really good for the brain. And by the way, the two that didn't find any benefits, they were already pretty much eating this way to begin with. So it was 100% of the people who actually made the change. Now, I want to hear from you some tips. Like, I grew up, like I said, eating the Lucky Charms, the Golden Grams, a lot of the junk food cereals. And my kids eat, like, the organic, Cheerios with no sugar added, and the corn flakes that have no sugar added. I mean, just like the healthiest cereals. But if you were to take me when I was a kid, or even as an adult, it's still eating junk food, be like, Scott, instead of Honey Nut Cheerios, I want you to eat these non-sweetened Cheerio cereals. I would be like, no thanks, I'll go without breakfast. So how do you make the transition? I remember you told us about a strategy you were using 5 years ago or whatever, and maybe you remember this. How do you transition people?
Well, yeah, I remember that. but I want to mention before I tell you what it is, that is for someone who would want to specifically make that transition. I'm again want to reiterate that I don't, if somebody doesn't want to eat Cheerios at all, I don't make them, or that particular kind of cereal or whatever, I don't make them. I don't encourage them that they have to do that. So, but if they did want to make the transition, for example, if they wanted to get off of dairy milk and eat or drink or use whatever plant-based milk, then you use the gradual approach, and people have done this. So, and it works great. So you take your container of dairy milk and your container of plant-based milk, you remove a tablespoon or two of the plant-based milk from the carton and add, I'm sorry, the other way around. You remove a tablespoon or two from the dairy milk from the carton and add a tablespoon or two of plant-based milk to that. And I mean, that is such a small amount. You are not going to taste that when you're eating your cereal with milk on top. You are not going to taste that little bit of plant-based milk in your dairy milk. But the next time you buy it, you do a little bit more. And the next time you buy it, you do a little bit more. And your taste buds actually adjust very well if you do it in that gradual manner. And pretty soon you'll be, your dairy milk carton will be nearly full of plant-based milk if you keep doing that switching back and or replacement, and you won't notice it because you did it so gradually, and it works. I've had many people on the program do that with the milk. They've done it with brown rice, white rice, replacing a little bit of the white rice with brown rice, and pasta, different things like that. It's the gradual approach. It works great.
Yeah, the example I remember you using back then was, the box, or have a bin there of your Honey Nut Cheerios, and remove 5% of it or whatever, and put the regular in. Over time, it becomes a bin of non-sweetened. But yeah, you mentioned all those examples. I didn't even think about doing that kind of approach with a number of foods that are hard to transition. If you're used to 2% dairy cow milk off of the grocery store shelf, you would have handed me, almond milk or something like that, I've been like, that's no, I can't do that. But yeah, slowly, that's a smart approach. Do you have any other tips and tricks that you can give us? Not like that, but just anything that helps people actually succeed at making a pretty dramatic life change. We know the benefits are there. We know it's enjoyable once you get over the hump, but the first days of this are not easy. How do you help people through that?
Well, I have two approaches. One is the cold turkey approach and one's the gradual approach. And I talk about that at the very beginning of my program, that you need to choose what works best for you, because some people work better with the cold turkey approach. They're either all in or they're not in. And that just works better for some people. But for me and many other people, a gradual approach works better. And so, yeah, we do that. We do the um, I approach it from a way replacing it with something better, instead of removing something and feeling deprived. We put something that they like better. Try this recipe, see if you like that better. If you like that better, then eat that instead. And that way, if you like it better, you're not going to miss it. And you're not going to miss what you removed from your diet. And we do that here and there, little by little, kind of feel it out, figure out what works best for them, so that they're only eating foods that they really like, and then they're not missing foods that are bad for them, that are damaging to their health and causing weight gain, because we've replaced it with something better. um, the yeah, I was going to give an example. I don't remember all the details too. Anyway, yeah, it works great to do it that way, to do the gradual approach.
How do folks, I want you to be able to just put, waiting for the echo to, there we go. I want you to be able to share more about your principles, but just right now, how do people practically sign up for your program, and what can they expect if they're going to be a part of the Jennifer's Kitchen community? What is involved with that? And I believe we have the QR code that can send people right over to jenniferskitchen.com, or you just type in the URL. What do people experience who join Jennifer's Kitchen? let's hold on just a second. We got to unmute Jennifer there, Jeremy. He's on the ball. There we go.
If you go to jenniferskitchen.com, up at the top, if you're on a laptop, or in the navigation menu, if you're on the phone, you click on weight loss program and you sign up, and you'll get an email that is your first step walking you through the program. I don't just let you sign up and leave you hanging. I walk you through step by step by step. And for the first 14 days, you are given a video to watch each day. And the video, again, it walks you through step by step what to do today, what to do tomorrow, the gradual approach. And then, like I said at the beginning, if you want to go cold turkey, I give you that option as well. But you watch a video every day for 14 days, and then when you're done with the videos, then you start the meal plan. And this goes back to what we were saying just a few minutes ago. If we would start the meal plan at the very beginning, some people just aren't ready for such a big transition. But by the time we've gone through the 14 days, you've tried some recipes. We've done what I talked about before, finding some things that you like better, replacing some of the things that aren't so good for you with things that are better for you. So you've gone through this very intentional transition into a healthier way. And then after the 14 days, you start the meal plan. And you've got several meal plans to choose from. Or you can do all of them, or you can do one of them, or whatever you like. You choose the one that looks good to you with foods that you like, some of which you've already tried in the previous 14 days. And every day, even through this whole thing, you're getting an email from me, keeping you going on the right track. A little bit of accountability there. There's also the support group that it's an option you can be a part of if you'd like. Some more accountability there if you want it and need it. Not if you don't. You can be completely anonymous and just read the support group's post and never say a peep. That's fine. Whatever you need, but you get encouragement there. And also in the program, there's also a section of resources that has a plethora of resources, what to eat, what to do about difficult situations, how to deal with emotional eating, stress eating, and so forth, grocery lists, and how to shop at the grocery store. Anything that you need help with. If it's not there, tell me and I'll get it there. I think we're pretty comprehensive when we've been doing this for a while now, and every time I get feedback, I try to improve the program, and we cover just about every question there is in every situation that there is. So yeah, you have the videos, the support group, the meal plan, grocery lists that you can download, and the resources, and frequently asked questions and things like that. So you have it all there available to you in your membership. And then the membership is 6 months long. And if you want to renew at the end of 6 months, you can. I've had people tell me, I lost all the weight that I wanted to lose, but I just renewed anyway because it was so much fun and I just enjoyed it so much. So yeah, a lot of people renew for just because they enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, can you give us a little bit of wisdom on how to succeed at the grocery store? Where do you go? What do you look for? Labels on food. I know that's a dangerous place, the grocery store. How do your clients succeed? What do you teach them about how to do that smartly and well?
Well, there is a whole section in my program about how to read labels without wasting a bunch of time, and that will greatly help. I do tell people just ignore the front label. It doesn't matter if it says heart healthy, clean eating, vegan, gluten-free, whatever. All that stuff is irrelevant. You want to look at the ingredient label, and I tell them how to read the ingredient label. Something that can be very helpful is to make a grocery list before you go based on what you're going to eat that week, so you're not just buying things on spur of the moment, whatever, impulse. I know a lot of people say to shop the perimeter of the grocery store, and that's true for the most part, but brown rice is not in the on the perimeter. You have to go in the middle of the grocery store for some things. And there are some good foods that are there. And there are a lot of, not a lot, that's not right. There are several healthy packaged food options. And I have a section in my program that I'm continually updating that list healthy food options at the grocery store because it can save a ton of time. Nobody has all day to spend in the kitchen making all their food from scratch. So there's that resource in the program, a list of healthy packaged options to save you time at home and in the kitchen. But yeah, if you stick to if you get your information from the Bible and not the internet of what to eat, and then you make a grocery list based on that, having a few recipes up your sleeve, knowing what you're going to eat that week, just go to the grocery store, get the items that you need, make sure you check the ingredient labels, ignore the front label. You're off to a pretty good start.
I like that approach. Now, do you often get people who are hesitant to give this a try because they're going, well, if I'm not going to eat this, and this, then I'm going to end up deficient in protein. You talked a little bit about that already. How are we knowing we're getting enough protein, but also zinc and iron and calcium. Can you talk about those? There's some of the objections you'll hear that I've heard to a whole plant food approach that LSR and Jennifer's Kitchen and many of our friends are succeeding with. How's the blood work of people on this program, and what are the foods you're making sure you incorporate to have enough of those nutrients that the critics would say you're going to end up deficient on?
Yeah. So when God created us and created our diet, He knew what He was doing. He was not an amateur at this. And He gave us everything that we needed. So we really don't have to be worried. But if people are concerned, there's a lot of research available on the program, and I'm happy to send it that shows that this program, which is based on whole foods, is far from deficient. It gives you more than any diet that includes meat or any animal products. Gives you because it's based on because it works with your body, gives your body what it needs. You're getting your food firsthand and not secondhand, so you're getting it straight from the source instead of getting it recycled through the cow or whatever. So it does supply all the needs, and the research is, like I said before, the research is really clear. It's very we have research for I don't know over 100 years, almost 100 years, that has consistently shown the same thing, that this diet provides everything that your body needs and more, because it's based on um, the diet that God prescribed for human beings. And in the program, I do talk about how to make sure that you get enough of the various nutrients. But God put a lot of safety mechanisms in our body so that if we are eating healthy whole foods, that we can easily get what we need. You could totally eliminate many foods from the diet and still get what you need because God has put the same nutrients that were in those foods in other foods. And your body has just for one example, your body has amazing protein or amino acid recycling system that it reuses amino acids to make sure that you don't run low at any time. If you're not eating junk food and you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, it is almost impossible to not get all the nutrients that your body needs.
That reduces the anxiety of many. Like almost impossible to not get all the nutrients that you need if you're getting enough to eat. I mean, if you like are starving yourself, of course that's a different story. But isn't protein deficiency is just another way of saying starvation, right? So, the potato has the proper amount of protein for the human body, and you get aren't there 9 essential amino acids, and you get all of those from plants. Every single amino acid that the body can't produce is actually in the plants to begin with, and the animals just produce it in their bodies, and we get it from them, and then it has to be broken down. The complete protein has to be broken down into its amino acid subparts in order for you to assimilate them anyway. So it just makes an extra step there that's not necessary, and that brings other risks. So I really appreciate your perspective on that it's not something you really need to focus on all that much. You eat the nutritious, healthy foods in their whole food form and of a variety of colors, and just enjoy it, and you're going to be fine. Your program is so relaxing. Like, I think a lot of people are stressed about their diet, and that causes health problems when you're stressed. So I really like that. There was something else that was coming to mind about. Do you have anything more to say about nutrients?
What you're saying about protein is absolutely correct. A lot of people have the misconception that plant protein is an incomplete protein. And I have a whole section on my website about how that's just a myth. It was a myth that was started by an author of a book who was trying to end world hunger. And even she later on recognized that it was an error and came back and apologized for making a bunch of neurotic vegetarians or something like that. She's wording like that. All plants have, I'm sorry, not fruit, all plants other than fruit have all the amino acids that we need. So we just need to eat a variety of plants and we'll get all of the amino acids that we need. There's no need to protein combined. And plant protein is definitely not inferior protein at all. It's the kind of protein that will keep your heart healthy, will keep your body energized, will keep your mind running clearly. It's definitely not an inferior protein. It's a superior protein.
That's beautiful. And you mentioned that there's like 100 years of studies on this. And I was just looking at the 10 biggest, best population studies of dietary type and health outcomes, disease risk, longevity, and BMI, obesity, etc. Jeremy, could you bring up that graphic that I just want to throw out there for people to see? It's from the Adventist Health studies in Loma Linda, California. This is one of those blue zones, and they looked at people by diet type. And I don't like the word vegan because the word vegan doesn't tell you anything about what you are eating. You could be eating Oreos and soda and French fries, and it's vegan. But these particular vegans must have been eating some healthy food, like the Jennifer's Kitchen program, because they're the only group of the 5 dietary types that you see on the screen who are not overweight. And these are all Seventh-day Adventists. So these are people who don't smoke, don't drink. They observe Sabbath, Seventh-day Sabbath rest, and have lower stress then in so doing. So they're a pretty healthy population. But the meat eaters among the Seventh-day Adventists are the ones that are the heaviest, and then on down. So you can see this when Jennifer says there's research on this, that this is the healthiest, not just for weight management, but I mean, you get like 20 to 30% reduction in disease risk as you move from the one side of the more animal-based foods to the plant-based foods. So I just wanted to back up a little bit what Jennifer was saying there, but I think it's time to close and just thank all of our viewers for being a part of this. And I want to just let Jennifer share any last thoughts, feelings, comments to leave with the LSR community as we wrap up here.
I suppose what I would say is that God created you to be healthy and your body wants to be healthy. And so if you're struggling with weight or any other health issue, know that you were created to be thin and trim and healthy. And if we just cooperate, ignore what you see anywhere, go straight to the source, what the Creator gave, His creation, and know that if we follow His ways, we will be abundantly blessed with health. He's not trying to make us miserable. He's trying to make us happy and healthy. and his ways are just beautiful.
Amen. I love that. Well, as we close, I just want to thank Jennifer White of Jennifer's Kitchen.com for being a part of this very important journey with a wonderful community of people who I just have really appreciated. Our listeners, our viewers, and you guys are the ones that share this type of content that really are able to pay it forward, to be like Dr. Sandoval taught, that we are a channel of the good that we receive from our God. We can pass that on in the law of life. So thanks to our producer, Christian Digital Network. From likes to lives changed, please scan that QR code, subscribe to the CDN YouTube channel, and then don't forget our sponsor as well, the Slow Cooker and the Fast Cooking and the Slow Cooker Cookbook. I think you'll really enjoy that in the cool season that's coming up for most of us. So that one, of course, can be scanned on a separate QR code as well. And we're going to resume this next week, as always. Same time, same place. We'll be seeing you guys on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And I believe we have a little, yeah, here it comes. It is Dr. Wes Youngberg. He's going to join us to talk about cognitive health. So that'll be 7 p.m. We'll talk about, and what he says, by the way, is profound. He says that this is not just for the senior citizens. He says in his practice, he's an MD, he's recognizing that in the research, that in our 30s, we already need to be taking the cognitive health question seriously. That it's being manifest in our 30s. I mean, all of the seeds of this are being planted in childhood and in our 20s as well. But you're going to hear some amazing things from Dr. Wes Youngberg. I can't wait to see you all next time. So I'm Scott Ritsema with LSR Live, and God's blessings to each one of you.